When my name got called out on stage, I can only describe it as just complete utter shock. Obviously, I was not expecting to get my IFBB Pro card on that day. To hear my name was just the most surreal feeling in the world, and still to this day, like when people say, "Oh, you've got your pro card," I'm like, yeah, like, I feel quite shy, like, and still that imposter syndrome, like, am I good enough to have it?
The next name I read out will be the champion of the Tsunami Nutrition Natural Pro Qualifier, sanctioned by the IFBB Pro League and promoted by Duperez Allianz Physique. The winner and new IFBB Pro goes to number 422, Isabella Hudson.
Welcome YouTube back to my channel. I hope everybody has been well. I thought I would change up today's fourth video and do a bit of a get to know me. As you can see, we're at the beach and thought we'd dive a bit deeper into who I am and more, I guess, behind the scenes really. From a younger age, I was very much into sport. So I did netball, I was part of the football team, I did karate, kickboxing, and I was very much involved in a lot of teams, but nothing just really clicked. Nothing felt like I had a true passion for it. And I wouldn't say I was probably the best at any of them. You know, probably spent more time on the subs bench for football than I did on the actual pitch. I'd also get a lot of anxiety around doing sports, but I felt like a lot of pressure into doing them just from being at school, all your friends are doing them, and kind of feeling like if you weren't involved in them, then you were the odd one out, you were, you know, the unfit one. It wasn't really how I wanted to be perceived, I guess, at that age. Once I had left school, I binned off all forms of exercise and found alcohol, was partying relentlessly, and probably went a little bit off the rails, to be honest. Lockdown happened and it literally just took from one day to another for me to just kind of flip that switch in my brain and decide that I just want to make this change. I went online, I typed in a strength program and I bought this 5-day plan, and I did that in my bedroom throughout lockdown every week for 4 months straight. And I can hand on heart say I did not miss a session. Doing hip thrusts on my bed, step ups with my school folder, and yeah, that's where it kind of really ignited my love for training, and I could really create that routine with solely just me, myself and my bedroom. After I'd say around 4 months of training in my bedroom, gyms then finally opened and I got myself a gym membership and was doing the same thing in the gym, but I reached a point where I kind of needed that extra guys to kind of take me to that next level, because I was making progress by myself, but perhaps not at the rate that I wanted to see it. That's when I reached out to Louis, who I'd found through social media, who was local to my area, and I, you know, had people who had been with him. I was very much drawn to his approach of coaching, his mindset, his views, and yeah, we've been a really great team together. When I first started with Louis, one of our very first conversations was, he asked, "Do you think that you'd want to compete one day?" And initially I didn't really have a clue what it was, because I'd never seen anyone who competed. I didn't follow anyone who competed, so I didn't really have an idea of what that actually meant. But I was kind of like maybe it didn't massively interest me, because yeah, as I said, like I didn't understand what that meant. But after I'd spent kind of months and months bulking and in a surplus, gaining muscle, seeing progression, getting stronger, the idea kind of seemed more appealing. And I also had like a few people come up to me in the gym like, you should compete, and it kind of just like take it as a passing comment. And it wasn't probably until like 2-3 years down the line that I had committed to a long off season that I actually decided to, you know, make this into reality. I did always have that bug inside me that did want to prep and compete, but for a very, very long time, in all honesty, I just didn't feel good enough, and I would constantly put it off and say another year. I didn't feel ready. I didn't feel like I had it in me to get into stage condition. I didn't have the discipline to, you know, commit to a prep And it honestly took kind of a very gentle push from Louis to be like, look, we're doing this. And you know, in that moment, it very much was like, right, it's game on. And I think a lot of people who are on the fence about competing probably have a very similar maybe mindset in that way, but I think like you just don't know until you try, and you just got to give it one shot. So pre-prep began in January 2024, and that was around a few months, and then I officially started prep in June. My first official like proper prep, honestly, like I absolutely loved every second of it, and every single week I can't even express how much it ignited my love for bodybuilding. The routine, the day in day out monotony that it brings, I simply thrived on it. I ended up being ready a lot earlier than originally planned, so I jumped into an untested open Two Bros regional, which at the time when Louis mentioned that, I honestly shit myself, because yeah, the thought of that, I was like, that is way out of my league. But yeah, it was an experience. I loved it. I was the youngest athlete within my category by honestly about 15 to 20 years, which, you know, was quite daunting, and I really surprised myself with that because I didn't look out of place, and that was just the one thing that I wanted to kind of achieve going into that show, is hold my own on a stage like that. My next show that we had lined up was originally the first show planned, and that was WMBF Supernaturals, and this is a tested natural federation, so my eyes were always set on this, and I think after how much I loved show number one, I was just beyond excited to get back on stage. And yeah, we did quite well. We got second out of I think around 10 to 12 girls in my class, which I was really happy with that, you know, result as my second ever show. At this point, it definitely hit home that, you know, I do belong on stage. This, you know, I'm very much worthy of being there, and it was a realization that I needed to find myself to actually have that confidence to pursue this passion. From then, I did the Two Bros Natural Regional, which I had to compete in order to do the pro qualifier in France, and we came away with an overall, which was just, it was an unreal feeling. And I never go into a show expecting to win. I mean, we all want to do well, but if you place too much of an expectation on yourself to achieve that win, then the pressure, I think, has more negative impact than it does positive. So yeah, it was unreal to walk away with that overall trophy. 2 weeks then after that, I flew to France by myself, which was quite a nerve-wracking experience, but I wanted to do that show by myself, and this was the pro qualifier where if you won, you're awarded your IFBB Pro card. I never went into this season or into that show with the expectation that I'm going to become pro, because in all honesty, I didn't really know if it was something that I wanted to achieve, because I didn't really know if I loved competing, and I definitely didn't have that self-confidence to believe that I was worthy of, you know, achieving that status. When my name got called out on stage, I can only describe it as just complete utter shock. And I had people say that, oh, your reaction just looked like you were expecting it. And I can confirm that obviously I was not expecting to get my IFBB Pro card on that day, because also at that point, like, I think mentally I'd clocked out of prep. I'd been competing, my first show was around 3 months prior to that. So at that point, I'm pretty fucked, and I just, yeah, I'm done. So to hear my name, obviously, it was just the most surreal feeling in the world. And still to this day, like, when people say, oh, you've got your pro card, I'm like, yeah, like, I feel quite shy, like, and still that imposter syndrome, like, am I good enough to have it? But I need to believe in myself more, and that's definitely one of my flaws, is that self-confidence that I lack. I was 23 when I was awarded my pro card, and that really did solidify that I want to, you know, massively pursue a career within bodybuilding. And, you know, my next biggest goal that I would like to achieve would be reaching the Olympia as a natural figure athlete, whether that's in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, who knows, but that is, you know, very much where my heart is set at, and it will happen. The next stage of my journey for me is the pro debut, and if you would like to follow along the journey, then head over to my socials where I post regular updates there. Anyways, I hope this has given you a bit of an insight into who I am as a person and where it all began, and I hope that if you are somebody who, like myself, does struggle with imposter syndrome and that lack of belief, that if you put your mind to that goal, you can absolutely achieve it. As well as being a natural IFBB figure pro, I'm also an online coach. I absolutely love to help women achieve their goals, feel more confident in both the gym and life outside of training, because yeah, your progress isn't all determined by how you train. It's very much about what you put in your body. So funny enough, I need to go and do a food shop. I thought I'd bring you along with me and yeah, give you a bit more insight with what I eat and where people can make common mistakes with mismarketing. So when it comes to veggies, it is obviously super important to have a wide variety of different colours on your plate. One of my favourites is spinach because it's super high volume, so you can eat a load of it for very minimal calories. It's also full of nutrients, antioxidants, fibre, so yeah, you need to as well be getting fibre in your diet, because if you have a lack of fibre, you're going to have poor digestion. It's fucking massive. It's so big. That'll be fine. My go-to carb sources as well are white and sweet potato. Again, with these, if you're dieting, I would definitely recommend having some form of potato in your diet, because you can eat a large volume of potato for less calories than if it was rice. That being said, rice is also in my diet. It's my pre-workout carb of choice, as it's super fast digesting and it sits really well on me. I don't feel stodgy going into the gym. Blueberries and raspberries. Blueberries and raspberries, again, are absolute staple in my diet. They are full of antioxidants, so they're going to really help your skin if you do struggle with your skin, which is something that I do have to deal with on a daily basis. I find they also really help with any sweet cravings, so they're great in yogurts, oat bowls, cream of rice, and yeah, I find they satisfy my sweet tooth cravings quite well. Some of my favourite protein sources are smoked salmon. This is not only going to be a great protein source, but a very good fat source. It's got loads of poly and mono unsaturated fats, which are the ones you want to be getting in your diet. 0% fake yogurt. Now, make sure if you are having Greek yogurt that it is Greek yogurt and not Greek style yogurt, because the macros will be very different on both of them. Whilst those two are great, chicken is definitely my number one source of protein. It is super lean and you can obviously chuck it in a load of different meals, so much variety. Make sure you season your chicken too. Whilst at times these can have their place for convenience if you're on the go and you haven't prepped anything, but I definitely wouldn't have these as a consistent source of protein within your diet. They are super processed, they have a lot of saturated fats, a lot of sugar, and just a lot of unnecessary crap in there basically. Sourdough is another one of my favourite carb sources. I always opt for this over breads like Hovis or Warburton's, because there's a lot less additives and preservatives. And if you're someone who feels that you get bloated from having bread, it may actually be that you're having bread with a load of additional ingredients in instead of something like sourdough. Also, just to know is don't be fooled by marketing on packaging like Warburton's here, because 2 slices of sourdough has the same amount of protein as these protein flatbreads. So yeah, don't be fooled by marketing. Oats are another excellent carb source that you can include in your diet. They are full of fibre, so they are going to keep you fuller for longer in comparison to carb sources like rice, cream of rice. I have them on rest days before bed, and it actually helps me sleep because I don't wake up hungry in the night. These obviously taste really great. Don't be influenced by people you see online having Squares bars for pre-workout, because they aren't really the most ideal pre-workout source in my opinion. Obviously, if you're on the go and it's like a last minute thing, that's fine, but consistently having these for your pre-workout, your sessions are going to be underfueled. If you're underfueled, are you going to be training to your best ability and having as best of a session as you could? People think as well that just because they're on a meal plan, they can't have chocolate, but dark chocolate is a really good source of fat. Fat helps slow down the digestion of food, so it's actually going to keep you fuller for longer. And if you're like me and you love anything sweet, again, it just really hits that sweet tooth craving that I get in the evenings. Nut butter is a very, very good source of fat. Just be mindful with the type of nut butter you're picking up, and you're getting quite a decent quality one, as a lot of them are full of palm oil, which isn't the best for you. So yeah, anything without palm oil I would suggest. Of course, classic bodybuilder as well, with flavoured water on hand at all times. That was a little insight into the foods I typically eat throughout the day. It might not look super interesting, but you can make delicious meals with simple ingredients, and less is more when it comes to your diet, because you want foods that make you feel good and digest well, and are not going to make you feel super bloated and sluggish. Lots of the girls I coach have meal plans, and I make sure that they include a variety of foods so that they're not eating the same foods every day. They love what they eat and they make great progress. That is the most important part of this. That concludes today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit different from usual, but I wanted to show a different side to me in comparison to training. But please like, share, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.